ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी हरे कृष्ण chapter sloka 3 sorry canto 3 chapter 7 sloka 22 यमाहुरात्यं पुरुषं सहस्राङ्गुरुबाहुकं यत्र विश्वैमे लोका सविकाशं समासते Mataji, would you like to read translation?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The Purusha incarnation lying on the causal ocean is called the original Purusha in the material creations, and in his Virat form, in whom all the planets and their inhabitants live, he has many thousands of legs and hands.
Yasmin Sloka 23 Yasmin Dashavita Pranaha Sendriyartendriyastrivid Toyedito Yedo Varnas Tudvibudir Vadaswanaha.
O great Brahmana, you have told me that the gigantic Virat form and his senses, sense objects, and 10 kinds of air exist with 3 kinds of life vigor. Now, if you will, kindly explain to me the different powers of the specific divisions.
Sloka 24 Yatra Putraicha Pautraicha Natrabhaisiha Gotraijeha Praja Vichitra Kritaye Asanyabiritam Tatam.
O my Lord, I think that the process manifests in the forms of sons, grandsons, and family members has spread all over the universe in different varieties and species.
Sloka 25 Prajapatinam sapadinchankpe kan prajapatin sargan chaivanu sargam cha manumanvandaratipan.
O learned Brahmana, please describe how the leader of all the demigods, namely the Prajapati, Brahma, decided to establish the various Manus, the heads of the ages. Please describe the Manus also, and please describe the descendants of those Manus.
Sloka 26 Uparadhyacha ye loka bhumirmitratmaja भूमेर्मित्रात्मजा जासते तेषां संसस्तप्रमाणं चादुर्लोकस्य वर्णया.
O son of Mitra, kindly describe how the planets are situated above the earth as well as underneath it, and also please mention their measurement as well as that of the earthly planets.
Sloka 27 Tiryangamanushdevanam Sarisripa Padatrinam Vadana Sarga Samvyuham Garbhasvedadvijodbidam.
Also please describe the living beings under different classifications: subhumans, humans, those born of the embryo, those born of perspiration, those who are twice born, birds, and the plants and vegetables. Kindly describe their generations and subdivisions also.
Text 28 Gunavateirvishwasya Sargastidapyayasrayam Srijadaha Srinivasasya Vyachashoda Udara Vikramam.
Please also describe the incarnations of the material modes of nature, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, and please describe the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his magnanimous activities.
Sloka 29 Varnasrama Vibhagancha Vyubashila Sabhavataha Rishinam Janma Karmadi Vedasya cha Vikarshanam.
O great sage, kindly describe the divisions and orders of human society in terms of symptoms, behavior, and the characteristics of mental equilibrium and sense control. Also, please describe the births of the great sages and the categorical divisions of the Vedas.
Text 30. Yajnasya cha vitanani yogasya cha padaha prabho naishkarmyasya cha sankyasya tantram va bhagavat.
Please also describe the expansions of different sacrifices and the paths of mystic powers, analytical study of knowledge, and devotional service, all with their respective regulations.
Text 31. पागण्डपदवैषम्यं प्रतिलोमनिवेशनं जीवस्य गतयो याज्ञा यावतीर्गुणकर्म च.
Please also describe the imperfections and contradictions of the faithless atheists, the situation of crossbreeding, and the movements of the living entities in various species of life according to their particular modes of nature and work.
Text 32. धर्मार्थकाममोक्षाणां निमित्तानि विरोधतः वार्तया दण्डनीरेज्ञा श्रुतस्य च विधिं पृथक्.
You may also describe the non-contradictory causes of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, and also the different means of livelihood and different processes of law and order as mentioned in the revealed scriptures.
Text 33. श्राद्धस्य च विधिं ब्रह्मन् पितॄणां सर्गमेव च ग्रहनक्षत्रताराणां कालयावय संस्थितिम्.
Please also explain the regulations for offering respects to the forefathers, the creation of the Pitruloka, the time schedule in the planets, stars, and luminaries, and their respective situations.
Text 34. दानस्य तपसो वापि यच्चेष्टापूर्तयोः फलम् प्रवासस्तस्य यो धर्मो यञ्जपुंसे उदापति.
Please also describe the fruitive results of charity and penance, and of digging reservoirs of water. Please describe the situation of persons who are away from home, and also the duty of a man in an awkward position.
Text 35. येन वा भगवांस्तेष्यो धर्मयो निर्जनार्दना सम्प्रसिद्धि वा येक्षा मेधाख्या हि चानकः.
O sinless one, because the personality of Godhead, the controller of all living entities, is the father of all religion, and all those who are candidates for religious activities, kindly describe how he can be completely satisfied.
Text 36. अनुव्रतानां शिष्याणां पुत्राणां च दुजोत्तमा अनापृष्टमभि ब्रूयुर्गुरवो दीनवत्सलाः.
O best among the Brahmanas, those who are spiritual masters are very kind to the needy. They are always kind to their followers, disciples, and sons. And without being asked by them, the spiritual master describes all that is knowledge.
Text 37. तत्त्वानां भगवस्तेषां कथिता प्रतिसङ्क्रमः तत्रैमं क उभासीरन् क ऊस्व धनुषेरते.
Please describe how many dissolutions there are for the elements of material nature, and who survives after the dissolutions to serve the Lord while he is asleep.
Text 38. पुरुषस्य च संस्थानं स्वरूपं वा परस्य च ज्ञानं च नैगमं यत्तत् गुरुशिष्यप्रयोजनम्.
What are the truths regarding the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What are their identities? What are the specific values in the knowledge in the Vedas? And what are the necessities for the spiritual master and his disciples?
Text 39. Nimittani cha tasyeha proktanyanyaga surbihi sado jnanam kudah pumsam bhaktirvairagyameva va.
Spotless devotees of the Lord have mentioned the source of such knowledge. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees?
Text 40. एदात् मे प्रजाताः प्रश्नान् हरे कर्म विवल्सया ब्रूहि मे अज्ञस्य मित्रात्वात् उदाचय नष्टचक्षुषः.
My dear sage, I put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision.
Text 41. Sarve vedancha yajñāඥā tabodānāni chānaka jiva bhayapradhanasya na kurvīran kalāmapi.
O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc.
Text 42. Sri Shuka Uvacha Sa Ittamabhrishtya Purana Kalpaha Kuru Pradhanena Muni Pradhanaha Pravrittaha Sho Bhagavat Kadayam Samchodidastam Prahasannivaha.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, thus the chief of the sages, who was always enthusiastic about describing topics regarding the personality of Godhead, began to narrate the descriptive explanation of the Puranas, being so infused by Vidura. He was very much enlivened by speaking on the transcendental activities of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. Priya Narayani Mataji and Saroj Mataji. Do you have an initiated name, Saroj Mataji?
No, Prabhu, I'm not initiated yet.
Oh, all right.
It's Seja Mataji's initiated. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, last year I initiated Mataji.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, dear devotees, welcome to today's chat session. Today will be a summary of all we've been studying and discussing on chapter 7 of this canto number 3, and the chapter is entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. So we'll say the Mangala Charanam prayers. Please feel free to join in. Be unmuted mics. Om Gyanaatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastete Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dear devotees, I'm not sure if you saw my message on the WhatsApp group. The moment I put the message on, 2 devotees left the group. So I hope I didn't scare anyone. I made a request there for you to make this maybe a more interactive session, to think about any verse, any theme, any purport, or anything in this chapter that stood out for you or gave you a particular sense of realization or enthusiasm. That's the reason we read and study Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said that one who reads and studies Srimad Bhagavatam, one outcome is we get enthusiastic. 2, detachment comes. 3, enlightenment comes. So we should be feeling this as we study Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm sure you have been feeling it, probably much so than I have. So consider, and at some point in today's discussion, I will invite you to share either your favorite verse, favorite theme, favorite purport, favorite message, favorite realization. Hare Krishna. So let's just go through an overview quickly. Let's see if I got... Okay. Yeah, let me just start off here. So this is an overview, dear devotees. This is a reasonably lengthy chapter of 42 verses. As the chapter says, it's further inquiries by Vidura. So what we can expect is lots of questions and answers. And something that is very marvelous about the Srimad Bhagavatam, the people or the devotees asking the question are not just ordinary souls. They are souls of the highest caliber, devotees of the Lord, empowered. So when they ask questions, these questions will be, really something to pay attention to. And equally so, the answers that are forthcoming, coming from realized souls, great devotees of the Lord. So we can expect that to be forthcoming. So, consider, before I start explaining, what question that Vidura asked to Maitreya really caught your attention. I know there are some questions that, since I was involved in this chapter, and I've been giving a few classes, I used it in my classes just because it stood out so much for me. There was such brilliant question, and the answers were just equally captivating. So Vidura's first inquiry is about the Ishvara and the Jivas, right? And his questions were quite interesting, very, very pertinent. So the first question he wanted to know is, how is it that the Lord interacts with this material world? Doesn't he get affected by the modes of material nature? Just like you play in a muddy spot, you're going to get muddy. So he asked these questions, how is the Lord unchangeable? Or is he unchangeable? And then Vidura asked his second question about the jivas. So the first question was about Ishvara, and the second question about the jivas. And again, this is such a relevant question. How does the pure soul, the pure jiva, how does a pure jiva get caught up in nescience? Someone is generally pure, their purity withstands the impure. So how does the jiva get caught up? And why does he suffer although the Lord is within his heart? The Lord is in his heart and he's caught up and he's suffering. He says, please clear up my doubts. So two fantastic questions we start off this chapter with. Really fantastic questions. And Maitreya, okay, let me put it to you. What was Maitreya's first response about the Lord? Dear devotees, how did Maitreya respond about the Lord? And Prabhupada gives some beautiful analogies there in the purport to make it simple for us to understand this subject. And if you want to recite those analogies, because that's what stood out for you, you feel free to say that. Anyone? I hope this class is not going to become too long because I get too caught up. Okay, tell me an analogy that Prabhupada speaks about to make us understand. You forgot. Anyway, that's okay. In the purport to verse number 2, Prabhupada talks about a juggler or magician displays many wonders with his acts and arts. He can become a cow by his magical tricks, and yet he's not that cow. But at the same time, the cow displayed by the magician is not different from him. Similarly, the material potency is not different from the Lord because it is an emanation from him. But at the same time, that manifestation of the potency is not the Supreme Lord. Did you catch that brilliant explanation Srila Prabhupada gives? Prabhupada is explaining here, firstly, this material energy is the potency of the Lord. So how can the potency overcome the potent? That doesn't happen. And secondly, Prabhupada says this thing about a magician. Magician acts like he's a cow, but he's not become the cow. He's not become the cow. So the same way, Krishna does not get affected. Later on, Prabhupada gives another analogy. He talks about the king. Osanis Prabhupada talks about the king that enters a jail. When he enters the jail, has he become subjected to the laws of the jail? Oh, he's above it. He's above it. Because the king is above, so to speak, the laws of the prison. So that was very nice. And it's a very important point. It's important for us, dear devotees, because we all know Mayavadi philosophy. Mayavadi philosophy says that when the Lord, well, there's another interpretation of what they consider the Lord. But when he comes under the material world, he is under the influence of Maya. Therefore, they're called Mayavadis. Mayavadis, Aparadis. So these are two very nice analogies, very nice points. Immediately we can use to defeat the Mayavadis. So we should keep this in our arsenal. Next point, very important point. How does the pure spirit soul become engaged in nescience? And here again, this is so beautiful. Bhagavatam is so beautiful that the speakers bring down the subject matter to our level by giving very nice examples or analogies. And firstly, Maitreya says, actually, they are not suffering. The pure spirit soul is not suffering. It's just a misidentification. And he says, it's just like as one sees his head cut off in a dream. In the dream, the person is seeing his head cut off is becoming so affected. But has his head been cut off? No, it's just a dream. So this whole material experience is like a dream. And then the second example he gives is just as the moon reflected on water appears to tremble, the self associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter. The reflection appears to be trembling. But the actual substance, the moon, is not trembling. It's simply the reflection. So same way the spirit soul does not suffer. But when it identifies with the body, with the material world, which is a reflection, then suffering appears to be there. Yes? You remember that, dear devotees? Very nice examples. Again, we are preachers. We are meant to represent Srila Prabhupada. We are interacting with people who are struggling. Sometimes the atheists, they challenge us. If there's such a thing as a merciful God, why is he putting the souls into so much of suffering? Where's his mercy? Where's this merciful God you talk about? He's just inflicting suffering on the living entity. Someone challenges you like that. You can say, oh, Maitreya Muni responded. Actually, the living entity, the pure soul, is not suffering. Not suffering. So it is due to misidentification, it's due to illusion only that the so-called suffering is there. And the next part of this chapter, how to come out of the suffering. How to come out of the suffering. That is so nicely explained. The misconception. Okay, maybe I'll just stop this one for now. What am I doing? I'll stop this share here. Let me show you the verses so you can see. I'm using the Bhagavad Subodhini as a reference here because it's so nicely done. Okay. So what he says, only by bhakti. The solution devotional service. Identity can be diminished by Lord Vasudev's mercy, by the process of devotional service. So this Daivi esha gunamai mama maya durachyaya mam eva prapajante mayam eti tarantite. This is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Daivi esha gunamahi. But this material nature consisting of the three modes of material nature is my divine energy. And those who surrender unto me, they can easily overcome it. So by Krishna's mercy, identification can be vanquished. And further on, verse 13, it is service. This is not shantaras. This is devotional service. It's active. When one serves Krishna, when the senses are engaged in the services of Krishna, this is how all miseries are vanquished. So it is the service that attracts the Lord's mercy. And when the Lord is merciful to us, He takes away the covering. So it's so nicely written here, Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, how is it vanquished? By the Lord's mercy. How do you invoke the Lord's mercy? By service. And of all services, what service? In particular, verse 14, hearing and chanting. The Lord's qualities vanquishes all material miseries. Sadhana bhakti. What to speak of those who have attained bhava bhakti? So this is saying, we have two types of bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is devotional service and practice. And bhava bhakti is devotional service in perfection or spontaneous devotional service. Even at the stage of sadhana bhakti, these material miseries are vanquished. Now that's a very encouraging statement for us because most of us are sadhakas. And then we move on. Maybe I'm spending too much time. Okay, text number 15, doubts cleared. So Vidura is saying, text number 15. Vidura said, "Oh, powerful sage, my lord, all my doubts about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities have now been removed by your convincing words. My mind is now perfectly entering into them." Just like Arjuna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, all my doubts are dispelled. So what we should feel, similar to Vidura, is that by hearing these questions and answers, we should feel doubts are cleared. You have accurately explained that the disturbances of jiva have no other basis than the Lord's external energy. Who is happy? Now, this is one of the verses that caught my attention because I was wondering, once I heard Prabhupada say, there are only two people who are happy in this world. One is the fool, and the second is the liberated soul. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not happy in this material world, so I can't be liberated, and I can't be a fool. So that's hopeful for me. So this verse 17, is one of those verses that, I sort of, it clicked to me because that's what Prabhupada was saying. Only two people are happy. So dear devotees, if we are happy in this material world, we can either classify ourselves as a fool or a liberated soul. I know where I can put myself. Total fool. Text number 18. Service converts conviction into realization. Hi, all would be dear devotees. I just want to see you all not fallen asleep or everyone's okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Okay, good. You are there. Not lost. My internet connection. It said one stage my internet connection is unstable. Service converts conviction into realization. Text number 18. But my dear sir, I am obliged to you because now I can understand that this material manifestation is without substance, although it appears real. I am confident that by serving your feet, it will be possible for me to give up the false idea. So he's saying something important here. Yes, you've given me this knowledge, but I know if I serve you, this knowledge, which may be theoretical now, will become a conviction, which is Vigyan. So, dear devotees, we may have knowledge, But that knowledge may be theoretical. But we can convert the theoretical knowledge into Vigyan, which means realized knowledge, by service. And in particular, these verses, the next couple of verses, are talking about the results or service to the spiritual master. By serving the lotus feet of the spiritual master, one is enabled to develop transcendental ecstasy. Yat Sevaya. One develops transcendental ecstasy in the Lord's service in various relationships. Rati Rasaha. And two, it dispels all material existence. So when we serve, two things happen. We develop transcendental ecstasy, and second, our ignorance, our doubts get dispelled. But this service we read, it's not something cheap. It's rare. Why is it so rare? Why is it so rare? Persons whose austerity is meager can hardly obtain the service of the pure devotees or progressing on the path of back to Godhead, the Vaikuntha. Pure devotees engage 100% in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of the demigods and the controller of the living entities. So we have to perform alpa tapasa, austerity. And what is the austerity we have to perform? 100% glorification of the Supreme Lord. Not sit under the scorching heat. Not to fast only on water and fruit. Not to perform any of the austerities that the yogis perform. The austerity which makes service so rare is the glorification of the Lord. Yatra pagi yate nityam. That is the austerity that we are called upon to perform. So verses 23 to 38, Vidura asks about the vibhuti, the different opulences of the Lord. And if we study this, you'd see it mirrors a lot of what Parikshit asked Shukadev Goswami in other parts of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Bhagavatam. There are various potencies of the Lord, the potency of creation, the potency of secondary creation, the different planets, the guna avatars, the varnashram, the yoga, the purusha arthas. So much of the different vibhutis are described here. And this section, for me, after the vibhutis, a nice question arises about how to satisfy the Lord in text number 35. O sinless one, because of the personality of Godhead, the control of all living entities, is Father of all religion, and all those who are candidates for religious activities, kindly described how he can be completely satisfied. And what is the answer? Dear devotees, what was the answer?
Is it Bhakti Yoga, Prabhuji?
Bhakti Yoga, but specifically what aspect of Bhakti Yoga? Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion lists 64 qualities of devotional service. But the first three, which are prerequisites for the other, are what? To take shelter of the spiritual master, to take initiation from him, to serve him, and to inquire. So this stands out again, and this is completely aligned with the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And is further clarified, knowledge is impossible without a guru. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of spotless devotees? Anaga Suribihi, who are the source of knowledge. And then he says, I asked all of these questions with a view to know the pastimes of Hari. So kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. So we see the merciful nature here of Vidura. He's asking not for himself, but also for us. And if he never asked those questions, we would not have these beautiful answers. And then we finish off with this very pertinent instruction for all of us, perfectly keeping with what Srila Prabhupada has taught us. What is the greatest welfare activities? What is the greatest charity? What is the greatest charity? The greatest charity is the charity of sharing transcendental or spiritual knowledge. Prabhupada says the highest perfectional work of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxieties of material existence. And we finish off with Shukdev Goswami speaking to Parikshit. I'll stop here. And that's a summary of this chapter. Any questions, comments, reflections? Now you can share what I asked at the beginning, any verse, any theme, any purport, any analogy that stood out for you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
The verse that I like most is text 14.
Text 14.
And
Yeah.
text 14, yes.
Okay. Let me see. Open up my book. Okay, Mataji, share with us why that verse.
The verse, because of the translation, is so clear cut for me that simply by chanting and hearing the transcendental names, forms, etc., the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one can achieve the sensations of unlimited miserable conditions, which I felt it was so touching to me.
Beautiful.
And that just by simply chanting and hearing, if we get this, what to speak of all the highly souls. And by doing service to those lotus feet, I think we can get a lot of knowledge, or whatever you can.
Perfection.
Perfection can we get about the Lord himself, because obviously they are so pure souls who can give us so much information and knowledge about Lord Krishna. We just know, well, I just know Lord Krishna as a deity up to until I joined ISKCON. But now I'm trying to understand myself by reading Bhagavad Gita over and over again. It's giving me so much information. It's unbelievable.
That's what it's meant to
Thank
do,
you,
Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Thank you very much for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Madhurnath Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Long time we haven't seen you, Prabhuji. We miss you.
Yes.
We missed all the knowledge you give us. So, Prabhuji, I'm going to just say, I was going to say the same verse that Indira Mataji said. I genuinely love that verse. And it is very clear cut. And in that verse, Srila Prabhupada further explains more about not only the sadhana bhakti, but he talks about the raga bhakti in that verse. And what I love about that verse, the last line is, by practicing sadhana bhakti, one may gradually rise to the point of raga bhakti. And by performing raga bhakti in loving transcendental service, one can even control the Supreme Lord, which just makes me feel like, wow, controlling the Supreme Lord, right? And
how powerful is that? Yeah.
It just, yeah, it's beautiful how Srila Prabhupada has explained it. And just to reflect a bit on that one, Prabhuji, I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning. It's something I have as my, let's put it this way, as a New Year resolution. I try and read one verse minimum in the morning, and then anything more I can read. And I'm on the chapter, the passing away of Bhishma Dev. And just exact same reflection on this verse is when Bhishma Dev is saying about how Lord Sri Krishna chooses to be the charioteer of Arjuna and how much love he has for his devotees. And this is where it says, it just goes back to the Raga Bhakti, where where it says one can control the Supreme Lord. So it feels like he wants to be controlled by Arjuna and he wants to be the charioteer, even though he's over and above all these material stuff. He still wants to be controlled by his own devotees by even being their charioteer. So just a reflection on that one, Prabhuji. I love that verse. Haribol.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, Krishna, he really enjoys that rasa of being controlled. On one purport, Prabhupada was saying sometimes Krishna becomes disgusted by always being, utilized, and when someone controls him, he loves it. Very nice realization. Thank you, Namrata Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Silent. Okay, I know, the devotees, some of them, they live by this this principle. They hide the bhakti in their heart, but amongst devotees we can share, amongst non-devotees we can try to hide it. Anyway, if there's no other reflections, comments, or questions, we'll close today's session. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to your service. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, kripasindhubhyev patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo
Namo Namah.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for that wonderful class.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for an excellent class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jyoti Mataji, thank you for all your service.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.